I'm going to bring it up again. The possibility Arizona lawmakers are reconsidering a gasoline blend for the Phoenix area. Phoenix was hit by a month-long price spike that began in March, sending prices up by more than $1 a gallon. For weeks, prices in Phoenix topped $5. The Phoenix area was hit because of two refineries that produce Arizona's unique cleaner-burning gasoline, or CBG, were out of service, and other refineries that produce CBG could not get ample fuel to the Arizona market, making up for the shortfall. So what they are talking about, what the talk has been, and it was echoed on this show, I believe it was by Patrick DeHaan from Gas Buddy, saying that, if because Arizona is well above the standard when it comes to this blend of fuel, that we could be well within regulations, federal regulations on air quality and the fuel that we would use, and go to a blend of gasoline that's more commonly used in the region, which means it's more easily accessed, it's produced in more places, and it means the volatility and the chances for price, fluctuations aren't as great. And so there's been talk of that, and now we know Arizona lawmakers are considering this change. This is that policy stuff I talk about. Now, are they going to be able to lower gas prices to below the levels that we saw, going before this president was in office? No, they're not. As a matter of fact, let me let you hear this. I'm glad Julia grabbed this. This is Patrick DeHaan when he was on this show talking about the different blends.
Right now, it's about fragmentation, that Arizona requires its own blend. California has its own blend. When things go wrong at refineries that supply these various blends, it really acts as a major kink in the system.
So he talked about what would be better. What would be a better way to still maintain a very high air quality and also lower the possibility of these big price fluctuations?
To have one blend between, whether it's several states or really the entire nation that can meet the most stringent requirements. And that's going to be a problem moving forward. The best idea would be to Arizona and California come up with one stringent blend of gasoline, both using it. And that way supply would not necessarily be as challenged when one refinery in Texas or Southern California goes down.
So this is the policy conversation that I have. What can the government do to get out of the way and allow for things to be easier and better for people? I talked about housing earlier, and it's one of the big things for me. I worked in the construction industry, so I've had a bit of insight. Not so much on the development side, although I've had a little insight to that. So up to, I think it was at the time when I was a contractor, 600 amps of an electrical service, I could design and install myself. I did not need an engineer's stamp, which meant if you owned a small business or you owned a home that had an outdated electrical service, all I had to do with my contractor's license was draw, and I would do it with a pencil, a ruler, and an 8.5 by 11 sheet of printer paper. I would draw what your new electrical service was going to look like. I would specify the conduit size. I would specify the wire size. I would specify whether it was an overhead or an underground service. I would put the specs on the panel that I was going to use, the electrical panel, and the service I was going to use. I would draw the ground rods in, the gauge of wire used to ground the system, all the things that were necessary that the city had to see to say, yes, this is an approved installation. They red stamp it, they get a copy, I get a copy for the job site, the customer gets a copy, and then you call for inspection, you get a permit. That was as simple as it could be. That was my foray into working with the city. But when you have a complex thing like a building going up, you have what's called MP&E, or mechanical, plumbing, and electric. Those three trades, MP&E engineers design a system for fire protection, for whether it's a fire alarm or fire suppression. The system has to meet not only the city specifications, but the county specifications. And now you're talking about architects and engineers and all of these people that are involved in this, and you've got to get them through the different aspects of the city or the county. Then to get them kicked back out, it takes forever. If it sounds like you want to pull your hair out listening to me describe it, imagine being a land developer that has invested millions of dollars into a piece of property, and you're trying to build a multifamily structure, and it just takes forever. And you got to keep going back to the architects, and they're going to charge you thousands more dollars. And you're going to have to go to the engineers and all of these costs and lawyers. And before you put a shovel in the ground, you have not incurred just the cost of the land. You've incurred all the cost of engineering. It's another part of the red tape. It is an extended period of time, and it's a huge amount of money. Streamlining that process with good policy allows you to build these properties well, do them correctly, and do them within codes, do them safely, but to expedite the process to make it faster so people that are investing these millions of dollars see a quicker return on their money. And you also see lower prices because it doesn't cost as much in the engineering fees. I know it doesn't sound like a big deal to you, but to the end user it should. I want you to think all those costs I just told you about. Investors are going to build because we have a shortage on housing. They want to build what they say is affordable housing. Well, they've got to factor in the cost of everything I just told you. The factor of the land, the factor of the improvements on the land, the engineering and design and the permitting of the property. Once all that is done, then they go to build the structure. When they have to be in compliance with federal regulation and state regulation on insulation, when they have to buy appliances that meet the energy requirements, can't buy incandescent light bulbs anymore. And I know this doesn't sound like a big deal to you, but if you have a 50-unit apartment complex or even a 50 homes in a development somewhere, you've got to buy 50 dishwashers and 50 air conditioners, maybe 100, depending on the size of the homes you're building, 50 refrigerators, 50 washers and dryers, 50 water heaters. And when the price of those go up, how many light bulbs do you have to buy? And you have to spend more money on the light fixtures because the old fixtures don't meet new compliance and on the new levels. This sounds like a small potatoes to you, but I can tell you that when this goes into a per unit cost in the mind of the developer, you're going to go to people and say, this is what I want to build. I want to build this community. This is what it's going to cost for the land. This is what it's going to cost for the engineering and the permitting and the planning. This is what it's going to cost to actually physically build it. This is what our return on our investments are going to be and when it's going to be. And if you're an investor and you say, wait a minute, first of all, I'm investing how many millions of dollars in this, and I'm not going to see 1 penny of a return on my money for 10 years, and in 10 years, I'm only going to see this much profit that you can tell me that's a guarantee that I'll see, I'm going to pass because I'm going to invest in something that's more lucrative. There are people out there from the goodness of their heart believe that this is something that needs to be done, but we need to make it less expensive to build and less time consuming to build so that you get these investors, instead of building these huge commercial properties and industrial complexes, they say, you know what, where the money is let's build homes. Let's build affordable homes for people. The government policies are friendly to us. And if you don't think that's a big deal, I do.